Hello and welcome back to part 3, Positive Behaviour Guidance Strategies. Today we will be looking at covering Module 3. Positive behaviour guidance strategies help ensure that children's needs are met and they develop positive behaviours. Our goal is for children to start to rely less on us as adults and educators to guide them as they develop their own self-control and understanding on what acceptable behaviour is. To be effective, they need to be used consistently from all educators over time. Today, we will be covering off quite a few areas. We will be looking at acknowledging children's feelings, role modelling, setting clear and consistent limits, how to use positive language, problem solving with children, sportscasting, the use of natural and logical consequences, redirecting children, attentive listening, and visual supports. I really hope that you enjoy this training. Acknowledging children's feelings. We acknowledge children's feelings because they have a right to their own feelings and emotions. We acknowledge that a child does feel something and that feelings are normal in words that a child at their stage of development might understand. For example, you are sad because mummy went to work, or I can see that you are worried you won't get a turn. When we acknowledge a child's feelings in this way, we help them to learn that feelings are a part of everyday life and they can be safely expressed and supported in a safe environment. It is normal for children to respond in inappropriate ways when they are experiencing strong emotions. And of course, we don't want them to hurt themselves or other children. We can acknowledge feelings while supporting children to develop more appropriate ways to express their feelings or needs. For example, I can see that you feel angry, but I can't let you hit someone. You want to stand on the table. I can't let you stand on the table because it isn't safe, but I can let you come and climb over here. I know that you were frustrated because you wanted that block, and it's hard when you can't have what you want, but it's not okay to mess up somebody else's blocks. If you'd like to continue to play here, you'll have to stay away from that other child's blocks. Or you can also invite them into that other child's play. Setting clear and consistent expectations and talking through what you see and how the child might be feeling can be very, very helpful for the child to learn how to manage and acknowledge their own feelings. Positive reinforcement. We all feel good when someone acknowledges or appreciates our behaviour. Catch children's each day when they are behaving in considerate and appropriate ways and treat them to a daily diet of positive reinforcement. Our goal is for children to receive more positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement for their behaviours. When we are communicating on children's behaviour, it is important to note that there is a difference between praising a child and encouraging a child. Praise, such as, "You're a good girl," or "I love your painting," focuses on what we think or feel and can lead the children doing this to please us rather than being motivated to do it themselves. Encouragement, such as, "Susie, that made Josh smile when you complimented his painting. I think he really appreciated that." It's non-judgmental and focuses on what the child has done really well. When we do this, children will do it better each time. Encouraging children requires us to be a bit more intentional in our statements. We do have to stop and think about what we're saying, but it's been proven to be more effective at helping children to begin to manage their own behaviour. Role modelling. Children learn by watching us. If we want to guide them in appropriate behaviour, we need to model that behaviour ourselves. For example, Are we using quiet voices inside if we want children to use quiet voices? Quite often we can hear ourselves raising our voices to try and get the children quiet. Have you thought about creeping around the room and singing quietly to them? When you do that, it intrigues the children. They'll stop what they're doing because they really want to hear what you have to say. Demonstrate problem solving if you want children to be problem solvers themselves. Show respect if you want children to show respect. And sit at the table for meals if you expect the children to sit at tables for meals. Clear and consistent limits. A childcare environment can be very busy, confusing and sometimes overwhelming place for young children. When they understand what is expected of them, it helps them to understand what behaviour is appropriate and to feel secure. Consistently communicating limits or expectations for behaviour to the children helps them to learn what to do instead of what not to do. For example, running is for outside, walking is for inside, and we touch our friends gently. We need to stay at the table until we finish our lunch so that we are safe while we are eating. Older children can be involved in setting their own guidelines and appropriate behaviour, and this encourages ownership and responsibility for their own behaviour and respects them as active citizens of their campus. It's a great idea to sit down with the older children and what I like to call something go fishing. You can get the children to create their own rules and expectations. If we sit there and tell them what they can and can't do, they're least likely to follow it. But if you sit there, for example, and say, can we run inside? Where should our running feet be? Children will automatically tell you, we need to run outside, we don't run inside. Great work. That's a great rule. Let's pop that up there that we use our running feet for outside only. Is it okay to be rough with our friends? When you involve the children as active citizens to set their own limits and guidelines, it's been proven over and over again that they will enforce them. Using positive language. How many times do children hear no or don't during the day? We can choose our words to focus on what to do rather than not what we don't want them to do. For example, try saying, slow down and walk instead of stop running. Or can you please come and hold my hand instead of don't touch anything. Keep your feet on the floor instead of don't climb on that table. I need you to keep your feet on the floor. This is going to keep you safe. And use a quiet voice inside instead of stop shouting. Remember to talk with the children, not at them. Children often don't pay attention when you are talking at them. Guidance is much more effective when we talk to children at their eye level. Look them in the eyes, touch them on the shoulder if they're comfortable with that, and talk with them. Slow down and give children time to respond and listen generally to their points of view. Problem solving with children. We can embrace challenging situations as opportunities to help older children learn to solve their own problems in appropriate ways. And we can do this by acknowledging their feelings. I can see that you are angry, but I can't let you hit Susie. I need to keep both you and Susie safe. Defining the problem. You both want the big red spade. And then allow the children to take that language in and figure out what to do next. You might need to brainstorm possible solutions. What can you do about that? You both want the big red spade. What's your idea? You might need to select a solution or offer a possible solution if children are stuck. I know that you both want the big red spade. Maybe we can look in the shed together for another spade. Or would you like to hear my idea? Giving the children positive feedback. You solved that problem. Well done. You worked that out on your own. I'm so proud of you. How does that make you feel? Implement and evaluate the solution and check back later to see how things are progressing. Consistency is going to support children with learning how to problem solve. Cool down space. Feelings can be overwhelming, whether you're a child or an adult, and sometimes we just need help ourselves as adults, but so do children. Help a child to calm down and avoid injuring themselves or others. We can support children in these situations by removing them to a space where they can gain composure and control over their emotions. Please remember, if you're looking at removing a child who is struggling, don't pick them up and move them. This can cause workplace health and safety injuries to yourself, unless they are being unsafe. If they are being unsafe, remove other children away. But if they are being safe, ask them to join you. Grab their hand quietly. Ask them to walk with you to a quiet place. Redirect them to another activity or a quiet and safe space. This might include going to a quiet corner to read a book, doing something physical or calming sensory activity. The educator needs to remain with the child, offering reassurance. And sometimes it might just be sitting down next to them, quiet, anchoring, palms up, letting them know that you're here when they're ready. When the child has calmed down, educators then can provide support to assist them to identify what happened and how they were feeling and how we could have done it differently. Remember, these conversations don't work when the children are feeling highly emotional. Then you can support the child to re-enter play when they are able to do this appropriately. And remember, always go back and revisit how that child felt and how proud of them you were of how they dealt with that situation. This strategy, please be advised, is never to be used as a threat or a punishment or as timeout. It's supporting the child to calm down. Sportscasting. This is a narration of facts of events, and our goal is to keep children safe, observe and state what they see, allowing children the open space they need to continue struggling until they either solve the problem or decide to move on to something else. For example, Savannah, you had the bear and now Ali has it. You both want to hold it. Savannah is trying to get it back. Ali, I can't let you hit. I need to make sure I keep you both safe. By sportscasting, you are telling the child what you are hearing and seeing, and emotions and thoughts are not brought into it. Sportscasting is a term an infant specialist Magda Gerber coined to describe the non-judgmental, just the facts, verbalising of events that you can see when children are struggling to develop new skills. As a sportscaster, we don't judge or fix or shame or blame. It's our role to keep children safe, observe what you see and state, and allowing children the space they need to continue to struggle until they're able to solve the problem or they accept our help. When we do less, children think more. And I think that's really important to understand. Sometimes as educators, we want to jump in and solve the problem. But if we're jumping in and solving the problem, are we really teaching children the skills and the strategies that they need to be able to solve their own problems? So when we do less and we stand back, but we support them, we allow them to persevere with challenging tasks and resolve conflicts with our support. Trust empowers. Sportscasting is a minimal intervention tool, and it's most empowering because we're communicating to our little children that we trust and believe in them, and that we are saying, I'm here to support you, but I'm confident that you can handle this situation. We're not afraid of their children's feelings of loss or frustration or disappointment or anger. Remember, it's our job to teach them skills on how to deal with that behaviour in that moment. Sportscasting reminds us not to judge or take sides. And we've spoke a little bit in my second training that we do have natural tendencies sometimes to judge or blame children when we are dealing with challenging behaviours. But it's so important that we don't do this or we don't shame, because it can definitely hinder our connection with our children. It encourages children not to identify as aggressors or victims. So I think one of the biggest problems we have with children is that when we're openly speaking to a child constantly about their behaviour, about what we don't want them to do, other children are hearing this, and then children identify those children as aggressors. Or if we're constantly addressing a child that's being harmed and we're making a big deal about it, it then identifies them as the victims. And as I said in my second training, if aggressors feel and hear you talking about them inappropriately with their behaviour, they believe that they're bad and they're mean, and they will escalate their behaviours because that's the only way that they know. It provides children with a clear understanding of the situation, and it teaches them language and social and emotional intelligence. So when we sportscast, we facilitate experiential learning, which is education at its best for all of our children. Sportscasting is not enough if there's a safety issue. If we believe that a child is unsafe, for example, you might be out on an excursion and a child goes to run across the road, this would not be a time that we would deliver sportscasting. We would need to support that child appropriately to keep them safe. Children focused on a project should have their work protected if possible. But if we don't arrive in time to protect that, and the child's dismantled a beautiful building that the children have been working on for a while, we can still sportscast and talk through what's happened and what's occurred. We're not going to look at these links today, but these links are available for you to have a look at that cover all ages about what sportscasting looks like in action. I really encourage you to download them and look at them. They're fantastic. Using natural and logical consequences. We can help children learn that their behaviour has consequences, and providing consequences for children's behaviour is appropriate if it's natural and logical. It's age appropriate, it's stated kindly and confidently. We acknowledge the child's point of view or their feelings, and that goes back to us slowing down and allowing the child to talk to us and communicate to us verbally or non-verbally, and that we are consistent and become predictable part of the routine. And that's where it's really important that everybody is across the practices that we put in place so that it is consistent and it is predictable for the children. Some examples. I see you have thrown the blocks on the floor. Blocks are for playing with. If you aren't going to play with the blocks, I think we might need to put them back on the shelf. I can help you get started. Are you finished eating? You're standing up and that tells me that you're done. It's not safe to stand up and eat at the same time. Okay, you're sitting back down now for more. Thank you for letting me know that you're ready to eat. If you do stand up and walk away, you're telling me that you've finished with your food for now. I will put that away for a later time. Another example, I can't let you throw these blocks towards the window because it could break and then we could become injured. I can see that you're having a hard time not throwing the blocks. Let me show you where you can throw the blocks. Maybe we can throw them towards a rug or in a basket, or let's go and get a ball together. Thank you for letting me know that you need help. I'll put these blocks away for you. These are some great ideas on using natural and logical consequences, stating to the child what's happening, but what you would like to see achieved as well. Redirection is extremely important. Directing a child to an alternative activity represents respects the feelings of the child and their right to express their impulse or need, but offers a more acceptable way of doing this. When Sarah pulls the toy dog away from Charles, it's helpful to remind her, Charles has that dog. I don't think he's ready to give it up yet. And wait, allow them to respond and see. This is where your sportscasting may come in handy if the child is struggling, and you may be able to give some suggestions. If there's not another stuffed animal around, you might say, Charles has a dog right now. Let's find something special just for you. Offering a child who's throwing equipment, again with a soft ball. Redirecting a child who is over boisterous or play fighting with other children to a jumping game or an energetic outside activity. Or let's look at our OAK curriculum programs, active. What a great way to get out one of those experiences. And redirecting to an alternative, less stimulating activity, such as helping or being with an educator, supportive with an adult, one-on-one, can help bring a child down. Always use a positive example when redirecting children. We've spoken about this before. Please walk inside instead of don't run. This only redirects the children from not running, and it helps them to know what to do instead. It's a much calmer and respectful way of interacting with a child. Offer choices. Giving children choices is a way of helping children find alternatives for challenging behaviours, but make sure that you give them choices that are fair. Keep it simple and specific. Asking a 3-year-old child, what do you want to play with, can become very overwhelming and they may not be able to handle it. Give them 2 options. Would you like to play with the trains or the Play-Doh? And make sure the choices you provide are ones that you can live with. If you ask, what do you want to play with? And the child says, I want to play outside, and that's not an option, you have not really provided the child with a viable choice. Only give choices if the child really has one. And when there is no choice, use a statement rather than a question. For example, it's time for us to wash our hands for lunch rather than would you like to wash your hands? Another example is, I need to change your nappy now to make sure that you're safe, instead of can I change your nappy? You need to be prepared for the answer. Attentive listening. Be consistent. To be successful, behaviour guidance strategies must be consistent. Consistency takes a whole team approach and time. It's unrealistic to expect an overnight change. Children need to feel that they are being listened to. To show you are paying attention to the child, get down to their level, maintain eye contact, and use appropriate gentle touch if they allow, to convey that you have unconditional, positive regard towards the child. Use the same communication skills with the children that you want others to use with you. And common listening errors that adults make when interacting with young children are analysing the child's words rather than focusing on the child's feelings, and rushing the child through the expression of feelings and interrupting. As discussed before, it's so important to stop. Allow time for the child to respond and listen to what they're feeling and saying. And lastly, visual supports. Visual supports can be objects, photos, pictures, symbols, or written words, and a list for older children. Visual supports can help children in many ways. Your children's services business partners or health team have got many great ideas and examples of what these look like. Make and communicate their choices. It supports children to learn social skills and communicate better with their peers and educators, and understand and follow instructions, and understand daily routines and cope with transitions during the day. It's a great idea to have a checklist of positive behaviour management strategies, and as a team, discuss which following strategies are presently being implemented in your program, and are there any that can be used more effectively? Maybe start with identifying 1 or 2 over the next month. Some examples might be displaying a visual timetable that the children can involve themselves in. Set group rules, we discussed this earlier, and display them visually. State them positively when you want the child to do. State positively what you want the child to do rather than what they shouldn't do. And communicate the rules clearly and frequently. Look at joining play that is unruly and redirect it. Teaching problem-solving skills. You could establish consistency in behaviour management strategies. Are we acknowledging children's feelings while following through with expected behaviour? I know you're feeling cross because you're stamping your feet and you're scrunching your face up, but I can't let you knock down Jane's building. What I can do is work with the children's strengths and interests to promote and reinforce the desired behaviour. Build children's skills, especially communication, social and play skills. For example, how to ask for help, request a turn, wait, enter a group. These are great things to add to your curriculum. How to use positive reinforcement. We've just been through a little bit of sports casting. First this and then that. That's a great recommendation by having a conversation with a child who desperately wants to go outside, but you're unable to do that. First, we need to change your nappy and then we can go outside. These are just some ideas for you to consider for visual supports and ideas within your room to support with behaviour management strategies. Thank you so much for joining me with today's training. I hope that you enjoyed this. My final training will be covering how to create a behaviour management plan. I look forward to you all joining me then. Thank you.